What's up, Austin here from Make Pop Music and Austin Hole Audio, and today I'm going to show you how to make an upbeat, summery hip-hop R&B song like this.
And at the end, now we okay. Yeah, we okay. Only trophy that I got in a cold game. Say you're proud of me, 'cause you don't wanna be alone in your own.
What's up, everyone? We are back with another video, and for the video today, we're going to be looking at how to produce a song in the style of artists such as like Blxst, Dolla ign, Marc E, Bassy, kind of that mesh between hip-hop, pop, and R&B, where it kind of has some hip-hop elements, kind of has some R&B fluidity and movement and melody, and then kind of just has that pop sheen and production on top. So for the video today, we are going to be taking a look at the session for the song Prada Me by Riley, featuring Marc E, Bassy. The song is out today as we launch this video, so if you want to go check it out, you can click the link in the description so you can hear the song in full. I did produce and mix and master this song, so we're going to be looking at the session today, and I'm going to show you every single thing that goes into making a track in this style, what we started with and what we came up with at the end. So I'm really excited to dive into that, but before we do that, if you want to support the channel, after the video, head over to our website, makepopmusic.com, where you can check out our sample packs, preset packs, choruses. We've got tons of free content over there. We launched a podcast, so go check all that out. And after the video, if you like this video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because that helps us out on the channel a ton. But without further ado, let's actually hop into Cubase so I can break down this production session for you. All right, so we're in the session. So this song is a little bit different than my normal kind of creative process, in the sense that Riley had sent me a demo that was basically just a guitar stem that he had with a vocal. So that's really what we started with for this song. And kind of similar to that like West Coast hip hop kind of Blxst style, we're working with an electric guitar, and it just has these really pretty kind of arpeggiated chords. So here's that guitar kind of as it came in. Nothing on it so far, but this is the stem that we were working with as the backbone for kind of the whole song. So it has a lot of rhythm and it has a lot of melody already. What I wanted to do was just kind of process that a little bit just to get it in a better space. So I just threw on kind of a 76. I don't even use the CLA 76 a lot anymore, but I just dialed in some really easy compression and then a little bit of Pro Q, taking out some of those like kind of honky mids, and then a little bit of fresh air to kind of brighten this up. So as we start adding things like drum and bass, it can just sit on top. Just getting it sounding a little bit more modern and in your face, and that is pretty much the main melodic element for most of the song. We'll talk about layering guitars and adding synths and stuff like that in a second, but let's go ahead and show you the next thing I did, which was kind of building out the rhythm of a kick and a snare. Here is the kick and snare for this song. Keep in mind that what I really wanted to do was add a little bit of like swing and backbeat, and I wanted to keep it pretty simple and open and really have that kind of like West Coast bounce vibe. Riley being from the West Coast, being from LA, I really wanted to kind of hone in on that, especially with like the drums. And this is really where it kind of like set the tone for the track. Just adding some of those little double kicks in here and there, kind of really having that syncopated kick, I think kind of gives it a lot of the fluidity that we'd be looking for in kind of that West Coast bounce. And then we just throw on some hi-hats on top of that. Here it is with the hi-hats and one little like rim shot percussion kind of backbeat loop. So we've definitely got that kind of like West Coast bounce, especially with that arpeggiated guitar. The next thing that you need to do for something in this style is start adding a really, really nice bass line. And for something like this, we're going to use something that kind of mimics a real bass. For the bass on this song, we went with the Chapman Stick Mute True Staccato patch off of Trillion. And it's just playing a pretty simple bass line, but it kind of has just the right amount of melody and bounce. And in this style a lot, you're going to want to mimic the kicks, but you're not going to want to have a bass note on every single kick. So you can kind of hear when we have this blank space right here. So we have And then we have that little bass run right here. And that's really kind of reminiscent of that West Coast style. In terms of processing, all I'm doing is really just like beefing this bass up. So we have some kind of EQ with Cubase's EQ where we're just adding quite a bit of top end. And then we're just doing some Pro Q to kind of scoop out some of those low mids that are kind of honky and kind of muddy. Then we've got parallax, which I like using for like bass distortion and compression. And I'm going pretty subtle on this. And then we've got just a little bit more EQ to kind of take out some of those subs because I don't need it quite so big. And then most importantly, what we've got is we've got Kickstart 2. And this is set to the sidechain mode for audio. And this is synced up with the kick. So I'm loving the option to kind of sidechain things with Kickstart rather than doing compression. It's just doing actual volume automation. Just make sure that we're keeping that low end nice and tight and we're allowing that kick to really poke through, because some of the references that we had for this song really rely on having like a super massive, punchy, kind of distorted kick, which I guess I should probably say we used knock quite a bit on this. Here's what it sounds like without. I mean, we're clipping the shit out of this. We're saturating it. We're adding quite a bit of punch. If you haven't heard of Knock, it's by Decap. He made plugins at Knock, so go check that out. I add it to pretty much any kind of like electronic kick imaginable now. That's kind of like the main basis for this song, to be honest. That's like kind of the core elements. Now what we do is we start really playing around with kind of adding elements. So let me add in a lot of those kind of like textural things, and then I'll show you what we've got. That was kind of our basic, most rudimentary percussion structure for the song. We keep a lot of the same rhythms and things like that, but what we start doing is as we build out the song and structure it, I'm a big fan of adding extra little like loops and hits and stuff like that. So for the second half of this verse, we do add in a couple new loops. We add these two guys, this like clock loop, and the shaker loop. And I'm a big fan of finding loops that kind of all work together to create one consistent kind of movement and motion. And a lot of these were able to do that for me. And then for the last kind of 4 measures, we just add in a couple extra snaps. It's just one more textural element. You know, you've probably seen it before on the channel. I'm a big fan of like every 4 bars or 8 bars adding in new elements, even if they're not like new in terms of arrangement. So like we already have a snare on the 2 and 4. It's not like a new thing. It's still a new texture, and it kind of keeps the listeners more interested. And then when we get into the hook, that's where you can see we're really like throwing the gauntlet at this. So we've got kick, snare, we have a little trap snare that we're layering up in this. We have a big roomy clap. And we have this big hip hop crash. That mixed with those loops that we already had, plus we've got a couple new ones. We've got the slow hat. It's just doing like this weird sidechain thing. It was something I kind of accidentally dropped into the session, and I just really liked it. Then we've got this little like steady loop. Again, kind of giving us a weird syncopated bounce. And then we've got this crazy little percussion loop. Same guitar that we had earlier too. And then for the second half, this is like a post-chorus that we have. We add 1 extra loop on top. And one of the main things that changes in this is that instead of having that kind of like real bass that we had before, what we're doing is we are adding an 808 just to kind of give us a little bit more beef and to kind of bring it into more of that like hip hop realm instead of just being kind of straight R&B. So let me show you what those sound like. We're actually doing a couple things. We've got this 808 right here. Using kickstart to sidechain that to the kick just like earlier, and then quadrafuzz to add a little bit of saturation. And this is just out of one of our Serum packs, the Ready to Rumble 808, I think out of Poptopia, yeah. So we've got that, and then we layered up this real bass. It's the same as earlier, but what we've done is we've taken out most of the low end. And now with that 808, you're getting a much more kind of like long fluid movement. So you can kind of hear the contrast, even though that guitar kind of stays the same between the verse and the chorus. Listen to how different the actual production and arrangement feels. Versus something like this. So that's what we have for the main verse and for the main chorus. And then what we do is we kind of layer in a ton of extra guitars. So let me go ahead and add all of those. I added some of these, and then we also had Dan Smith from Nightbreakers add some of these. He just took the session and kind of threw whatever he wanted on, and then me and Riley decided what we wanted to kind of keep. So let me go ahead and enable all of these so you can hear what we've got going on. So you can hear in the verse, we've kind of got like this little back lick right here. Just added a nice little funky psychedelic little fill. So he just sent that as DI, and then I used the Quarry Wong archetype. And we've got, just like the Postal Service is mainly what's giving it like that weird envelope, some compression, and then just a little bit of, just basically the clean DI amp. Little bit of EQ, there's the cab settings, and then we've got some chorus, some reverb, and some delay. So here's what that sounds like in solo. And then we've got it auto panning left to right. Actually right to left. Same thing though. So that's really the only thing that we've added for the first part of this verse. In the second part we have this. Also using the Quarry Wong amp, here's what the DI sounds like. Lots of compression. We took the Postal Service off, and on this one we have the amp snub as the actual amp and cab combo. Little bit of EQ, just kind of taming some of those high mids, nothing crazy, and then reverb and or chorus and delay, no reverb on this. So that's just adding a little bit of extra texture. I didn't want to go crazy with synths on this because that guitar line moves so much. I didn't want to add anything to get in the way. And we wanted everything to stay kind of dry and bouncy, so I didn't want to add like these big pads or anything. So that's pretty much it melodically for the verse. And then in the chorus, we're adding quite a bit. So we've got the original stem, and then we've got this little guy. So that's the original stem that I pitched up an octave, added doubler on just so we didn't have any weird phases. And then I added some RC color to kind of really tame that, add some distortion, add some bit crushing, basically add a little bit of everything, and then just some final kind of bandpass filtering. So same as the original stem. Just to add some texture on top. And then I went in and I actually tracked the same guitar line with my guitar just so it would have a little bit of width and texture, and I panned these out left and right. And it left them kind of a little sloppy because the more tight I played them and edited them, it just didn't really have the same amount of width. And then Dan sent a couple more things. So Dan sent us like little hammer on, like that I just processed again with Quarry Wong, and I know that this one has that washy reverb with the Shimmer setting, which is going to give that reverb an octave up. And that's kind of giving us a bit of extra tone and depth. And then for the second half of the chorus where we had that extra percussion loop that I talked about earlier, we've added in this like little octave riff. I've got mono to stereo so I can make this thing super wide and kind of chaotic. And then just Corey Wong with basically the chorus set at 100%. Amp snob. I think this is probably similar to like one of the patches we had earlier. I'm just really driving that chorus gnarly. And then the last guitar that we have is like this spacey guitar where I just played these big diamonds with, I believe it's going to be like one of the Padasphere from Guitar Rig 6. Let's see. Creamy Snowflakes from Guitar Rig 6. So that's most of the melodic stuff happening. Here you go. And then we do have a couple synths. There's really nothing insane. This is literally it, if I'm honest. So we've got this West Coast lead right here that is from Serum. It's just doing this. Just to give us something. Same thing with this little mallet right here. This is from Poptopia. So is this. Both of these synths are from our pack Poptopia. And that's it for the first chorus. That is literally the only two synths. And then for the last chorus, we have this little guy. And I can't remember where we even got that from. I could have played it on something. It could be from Arcade, but it's got a ton of processing on it, and then I just printed it out. So here's what that sounds like in the actual context of the song. And then the only other synth in this entire song is this synth solo. So I know for a fact this is Arcade, and what I did was I just played a bunch of like little different movements from this. So this looks like it's the roller coaster patch from their lead line, and here's what it sounds like. And from bouncing between different areas of that kind of patch, I was able to get something really cool. Did some processing on the actual channel. And that is literally it for the synths. I wanted to keep it pretty sparse, but it still has that West Coast vibe. And then mainly it's really just like pulling elements here and there. In the second verse, we have a couple little guitars. Let's go ahead and add in vocals before it gets too late in this. There's a lot to go over for the vocals, honestly. So the song basically starts with that guitar loop just being filtered in. One thing I didn't talk about was we do have some different automation happening here. So for the verse, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Pro Q kind of just do some cuts as we kind of go through. It'll open up. And then we've just got some volume automations where things kind of stop for a second, just to give a little bit of urgency to maybe a vocal part or maybe a percussion fill or something like that. Other than that, the intro, we've just got this little intro vocal right here.
Say you're proud of me.
So we have that little vocal for the intro, and then for the first verse, Marc E. Bassy took the first verse. He just sent me his vocals, or their engineer sent the vocals, and there wasn't much that needed to happen, honestly. Here's what it sounded like coming in. It was a pretty clean vocal track, honestly.
She told me, scoop up inside of my foreign coupe. She might be pouring, but she told me I could throw the roof. She come into the studio and do me in the booth. She even hit the high note if I get her.
So I just like basically tightened that up with some EQ, added quite a bit of compression, tuned it and tightened it just a little bit, and sent it to a couple synths. Here's what it sounds like in the context of the mix.
She told me, scoop up inside of my foreign coupe. She might be pouring, but she told me I could throw the roof. She come into the studio and do me in the booth. She even hit the high note if I get her loose. I should probably...
And you can hear that that's where we have that guitar really filtered out. They also sent a double for Marc, and this is what that sounds like.
Scoop up inside of my foreign coupe. She might be pouring, but she told me I could throw the roof. She come into the studio and do.
Just tuned a little bit tighter, just to give a little bit of depth and texture. I'm assuming that's how he likes his vocals tracked.
She told me scoop up inside of my foreign coupe. She might be pouring, but she told me I could throw the roof. She come into the studio and do me in the.
Just adds a little bit of texture and almost like a slap back. Then we have these ad libs right here that literally all I did was add crystalline.
Scoop. Foreign coupe. Throw the roof. Yo, and do me in the booth. She even hit the high note if I get her loose. I should probably record her, never snitched on me.
That's pretty much it for Marc's vocals. And then we have a left and a right here where it kind of pulls out.
Yeah, probably. Flirting like Tristan in the hotel lobby. Hey, I'm proud of you, baby, you got over all of my.
And I just panned each one of those like 67% left and right, just so we had some spread, but it wasn't completely on the sides. And that's literally it for his vocals. So there's not much happening at all. And then for Riley, if you guys have seen me break down a Riley song, it's pretty similar. He's got his lead right here. He sends everything super mixed. I know he's tracking through a Golden Age C800 into his Apollo, and then probably processing it with like Auto-Tune, LA2A, and then maybe like an SSL or like a FGA kind of reverb. So here's what that sounds like coming in.
Say you're proud of me, 'cause you don't wanna be alone in your own designer sheets.
So I really just wanted to take out a lot of that like low end and mid. I know it sounds crazy in solo, but it really works in the context of the mix. And here's what it sounds like now.
Say you're proud of me.
And then we have a low vocal here. Spreading it out with a Juno chorus. We have a left vocal and a right vocal.
Proud of me, 'cause you don't wanna be alone in your own design.
And then Riley always sends something like this. He'll send like a 4-minute shift. And I really don't do anything to those, maybe just add a little bit of reverb and delay. And then he sent some background vocals that I've just added like different doublers and reverbs to, and spread those left and right. And then just big delay throws. Here's what it sounds like in the chorus now with everything.
Say you're proud of me, 'cause you don't wanna be alone in your own designer sheets.
So that's all his vocals for the chorus. And then for verse 2, it's literally just like a lead and then that low vocal that I created. And here's what that sounds like.
What's that look for? You know you got that pussy I've been hooked on. So why you always press me when them hoes call? You know they ain't no one but you I put on, yeah. No Giuseppe, no Chanel.
That's pretty much it for the vocals. There's really nothing super insane happening. Really just this ad-lib track right here. And I just filtered those out a lot, threw on a bunch of reverb, bunch of delay, and some stereo width, kind of like modulation stuff. And then the last couple things that we have are all of these different reverses and hits and delay throws and all these like little effects things that I always do. So let me just give you a little sneak peek of kind of what those look like. We've got some risers and hits here.
She told me scoop up inside of my phone.
We've got some stuff going into the chorus.
Yeah, we open. Only trophy that I got in a coke game.
Say you're proud of me, 'cause you don't wanna be.
And then we've got quite a bit in Riley's verse where we kind of play around with different turnarounds.
What's that look for? You know you got that pussy I've been hooked on. So why you always press me when them hoes call? You know they ain't no one but you I put on, yeah. No Giuseppe.
Got a nice decap yeah in there. Shout out decap again. And then the only other part of the song that's a little bit different is we took the second half of the B section of verse 2 and we actually brought everything down. So I took away all of the guitars pretty much, filtered out the main, added in those diamonds that we have in the post-chorus, and just really took out all of the drums and made it nice and pretty.
It'll probably be from every look you stole from me. You know whatever you need you'll always have, as long as you're proud of me. As long as you're proud of me. Say you're proud of me, 'cause you don't wanna be alone in your own designer sheets. That's why.
So at its surface, it sounds like a super simple song, but I mean, there's a lot of like little things happening here. Rises, hits, little guitar licks that happen once or twice, synths that only come in for the chorus. So this is just a really good example of how you can take something as simple as like just a super kind of basic guitar riff or guitar stem that you're sent and just really build on top of that and get something creative and big and full and bouncy. And yeah, that's pretty much the entire session for Prada Me by Riley and Marc E. Bassy. And there you have it. There is the full session behind Prada Me by Riley featuring Marc E. Bassy. Again, this is just such a fun kind of summery hip-hop R&B pop song where it really just falls into a similar style with like Blxst, Ty Dolla Sign, some of Marc E. Bassy's other stuff. So I'm really excited we got to highlight this on the channel. It's not a style that we work in a ton on the channel, and it's not a workflow that we work in a ton on this channel. So it was really fun to go over this project. Again, if you have any questions throughout the video, please let us know in the comments down below and I'll answer whatever I possibly can. Other than that, if you want to listen to the song, you can click the link in the description. And then if you want to support the channel, you can head over to makepopmusic.com where you can check out all of our free and paid content over there, including the new podcast, The Sound Table. But that's going to do it for this video. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see next time in the comments down below, and we will see you guys next week with much more content. Much love, everyone. Peace.